Shalom Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You guys are watching Israeli News Live. If you give me just 1 second, we are actually working also on getting Periscope up and going as well. Going live on Periscope. Good, we are now actually live on Periscope as well. Listen, there has been, of course, a whirlwind of things going on about Alex Jones and him being taken down off YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the different social media outlets. And of course, I was in Washington, D.C. when this happened, getting ready to fly back. We were in a little mini conference up there and just was unable to actually report on this issue. And I think it's something that needs to be reported on. I can see he is already back up on Twitter as of today from what it looks like to me. But it's very strange how this is happening. And I know that there's YouTube, and they talk about their policies, and if you infringe on their policies, the hate speech, etc., then you would be removed. But the problem is we're seeing this globally as it is, this whole issue of hate speech, and if you want to call it hate speech, but when it comes to the Arabic world and what they post on YouTube and Twitter and all these other Instagram, etc., they seem to be totally uncensored. In fact, if it's propaganda, it always seems to be something that is lifted up in the media, and there's never any issue, never any challenge to any of these things here. And I'm sure that Alex has had to pay an enormous amount of money to attorneys in order to be able to fight this. And as far as I know, he's not back on YouTube yet. Let me just double check that. I was actually wanting to see earlier if his channel was back up on here, because I noticed when I did check it earlier today, yeah, you still don't see anything on his channel. But there is numerous news articles that are out there about him. Everyone's covering it: Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and everyone is saying because he's a radical. Alex Jones, though, stands for free speech in this country. He is a patriot, and regardless of what people may think of his views, he is entitled by the United States Constitution to free speech. I realize that these platforms have their censorship on what they are allowing, which is really infringing on the Constitution of the United States to begin with, because we're seeing this more and more. Independent media is exposing things that are really happening in the world, and this is what they don't want you to hear. This is why we even have to be very careful ourselves. In fact, we started our Patreon channel because of that very issue of censorship. And we don't hate anyone. We're not trying to get anyone to hate anyone ourselves. But we are trying to point out the very true facts of what's happening in this world. We are headed towards a new world order. And yes, it may look like a peace, a global peace initiative, quote unquote, but in the reality of it, it's not peace, and it's, if it's anything, far cry from that. It has brought more bloodshed, more war as they prepare this new world order, especially in the Middle East and all these countries being taken down. Mr. Alex Jones, he has a right to free speech, and he's trying to wake up the public from what he believes is correct. I know that they've really hit him on the mainstream media about the Sandy Hook, that he says that this was a false job. It was never actually done. There's all types of things that are going on out there. And if you dare even speak contrary to mainstream media, yeah, you will be censored and could easily be shut down and have all your content removed. Well, I can tell you something straight up, and you guys are well aware of this already, and especially of those of you that attended the Orlando conference. And I do want to say, I have to apologize about the Orlando conference. I'm still a little bit shy about coming out and really laying things out there the way it is. But I did work the intelligence community, and I know full well the things that happen. And of course, those of you that were in Orlando discovered that even in the operations that I worked with in the intelligence community, cover up, drug smuggling, weapons, everything, just like the Iran-Contra deal, just like the alleged issues of the Clintons, of the Mina Air Base and the cocaine smuggling in exchange for weapons, things like that. Well, I knew about those type things as well, because when I worked with the intelligence community, it was from the mid-80s to 1990. And yes, the very president we got in 1990, when I was a Republican and very supportive of President Bush when he was first elected. But he was one of the main ones that covered up the very things that I knew all about. So these things are major, friends, and there's a lot of these things that are called conspiracies, and I know firsthand they are not. So we do need people like Alex Jones in this world, regardless of whether you agree with what he says, how he goes about saying it or not. At least it brings a balance. It brings an alternative. This is why it's called alternative media. And so I stand with Alex when it comes to fighting for free speech, because we do need to do it. It's a dying thing in this nation, especially as we head towards a new world order. They're wanting to crush nationalism, both in the U.S. and in Russia, possibly Israel as well. Never know. My wife tells me many times that when she lived under communism, back during the days that Eastern Europe was all subjected to the Soviet Union, even though her country, Czechoslovakia, was not a Soviet state, they still were under communism. You didn't enter the West. You only dreamed about it. In fact, she was so taught in her schools that the West they always saw the poorest of the images, and that we were a horrible country, horrible people. But one day her mother told her that the United States has freedom of speech, and that you can worship God any way your heart's desire is. And she said they even have "In God We Trust" on their money. My wife was totally blown away by this concept that could be possible. This is why it is important that we stand for freedom of speech. And we must unite together in regards to this. Continue on in other news now that we kind of struck some of this. So let me play just a little bit about Alex here, what he's saying here about this.
Tim Cook at Apple. And now they're involved in massive economic warfare against the American people.
They're
And they're giving donations illegally, violating federal election laws, with billions of dollars of Republican ads and conservative information being blocked on these platforms to try to ensure that they win the midterms coming up. You've had Google list all Republicans in California as Nazis on their official candidate front page. You've seen everything they've been.
So this is just some of the things that Alex is saying. I haven't had really a chance to go into these things. I just wanted to make that stand for freedom of speech. And I know too much about campaign illegal contributions, drug trafficking, things of that nature. But anyway, we'll be sharing with you guys very soon up in Nashville, Tennessee. And at the end of the broadcast, I will be sharing with you the website where you can register to come and be a part of that meeting there, and the clip that they have made, the video clip that they've made regarding the conference. Let's move on to some other news real quick here, because we've been out of the office here for 3 days now. Russian ships transports more tanks and military vehicles to the Syrian army. That's one thing that is going on. This is coming out from Lebanon's news there. Amman News said Russian naval vessels are currently en route to the port of Tartarus in order to deliver another large quantity of military supplies. According to the Eurosik of the Bosphorus Observer, the Russian class LSTM Azov 151 landing ship has crossed the Bosphorus Strait, entered the Mediterranean waters, and of course they're reporting that they're bringing all this equipment there. 450 tons of cargo is being brought in. And of course, they're getting ready for the Battle of Idlib. Now, we had mentioned while we were out on the road, one of the big reasons there's a battle for Idlib, just like there's a battle for Gaza, is because of the natural gas reserves that are under both locations. Idlib And maybe we should just jump real quick into a maps here for you to kind of give you a bird's eye view of everything. I don't want to go to Nicaragua, so okay, so we jump over here to Syria. In Idlib right here, Idlib is just south here of Aleppo. This is the Idlib area. This is a panhandle here of the Turkish country. And underneath this area here, and of course offshore, is considered one of the world's largest gas reserves. But even larger than that, and they may all be connected anyway, is right under Gaza itself. The little Gaza Strip down here, it's said that the second largest natural gas reserves in the world is under Gaza and in the waters off of Gaza, which, by the way, Israel did intercept that flotilla that was coming in, the Norwegian flotilla. Some very, very horrible things that we heard that happened to the people that were on the flotilla. There was even one of the former members of the USS Liberty that was on board. We are going to be looking more into what happened to this flotilla that was intercepted. I know that Israel has a blockade. They do not allow any other ships into the area or to port at Gaza. But the things that were coming out about the way the Israeli military handled the flotilla people on there, and the beatings that were done to the captain of the ship, who was a Norwegian citizen, and the strip searches, all the things that went on were just... I literally thought, as I was listening to this, because I had many family members that were killed in the Holocaust, I could not think about what my family members went through in the Holocaust. The strip searches, the torture, the tasing of the people, just the humiliation, the humiliation of women, and the separation, and of course it's just, we'll go into it later. I need to do a separate broadcast on that. But it was disturbing, because as Israelis, we're supposed to be a beacon of light to the world, and we need to live. We must be above this type of actions. And it is something that I call upon my Israeli brothers and sisters to also to consider, that as the Israeli people that are supposed to be a beacon, a light of the world, we cannot be just a smothered, smoldering ash. We must stand for truth and honesty and justice, and we must remember that God said that we were oppressed at one time, even during the Holocaust, even during the time in Egypt, and that we were not to oppress others as a result. So we'll talk about that issue later in another broadcast once we get things pulled together. Israel also welcomes the murder of the Syrian scientist. We reported that just the other day there, but denies any involvement in the assassination. Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say whether or not they're going to ever come clean with that, but I'm sure whether directly or indirectly, there is probably the involvement. And Israel may have not been the ones to pull the trigger. So Israel generally does admit to when they actually do these things, but there again, it could have been just helping and aiding the terrorists that are working inside of Syria to pull this assassination off the Syrian scientist. The scientist was involved in working on, for the Syrian military, guided missiles to where they would have pinpoint accuracy. And as we brought out the other day, that was always something the U.S. prided themselves in war, is that they had the precision-guided missiles, and that because of that, it limited the number of civilian deaths. They could better target military positions. And so you would think that that would be a good thing, especially in this war on terror in Syria, to limit the casualties of the Syrian civilians that are caught in the crosshairs of this fight against all the terrorists that have been brought against the nation of Israel. So very troubling indeed. This is something we're going to be going into here in the very near future as well. I haven't had a chance to fully go over this yet. I want to finish translating this. This is a Jewish man, an Orthodox Jewish man, that was being arrested by the Israeli police there, and he was brutally beaten by Israeli police there. He suffered major lacerations to his legs, his arms. He talks about the strangling of the neck. And in my early on, you know, I was looking at what he was saying, and like I said, I haven't had a chance to fully translate everything on this video as of yet. But this is not a very good scene at all, what happened. And, you know, I'm just beginning to wonder, is this becoming a thing that is happening in the police force in Israel? Is this a new trend that even the Orthodox community is being targeted for abuse? I really need to get into find out the full details on the video, but it was very troubling what I have translated thus far. Very troubling indeed. So we'll talk about that again when we'll come back to this. I want to share a bit of good news with you guys. There's always so much bad news in the world, so I wanted to share this bit of good news with you. This stray dog was hit by a car and couldn't understand why his legs didn't work anymore. This is in India. And this man here, he's part of an organization that rescues animals. So he had to build the trust with the dog there. And you know, it took him a little bit of time to be able to get the dog, capture the dog, but they worked with this dog, took him back to the place where they take care of animals that are in this type of condition, and nursed this dog back to health. He was definitely... he's in a lot of pain, you know. He's crippled, back injury, no doubt, that's left him paralyzed. They finally do get him out. They get him onto this tarp here. They get him brought back. But I want you to watch what happens. I mean, this is something that brings you to tears. They keep working with the dog. They clean him up. They keep working with his legs until finally this fella is actually able to walk again. He never gets the full mobility, but just that love that they showed to this poor dog. Look at him now. At least he's able to once again have some sort of life. I thought that was just a beautiful news piece there. That I saw this on Twitter. The Dodo actually had shared that on there. And this is the organization here, Animal Aid Unlimited, on Twitter, that actually rescues these animals in India. We know this happens around the world, different places that do that. I just happened to see that video there, and I thought that was really a blessing. All right, let's go in closing here and talk a little bit about the meeting that is coming up in Nashville, Tennessee. It's actually Lebanon, Tennessee, which is closer to the airport, which is on the outskirts of Nashville. Hunters Point Celebration Center is hosting this meeting. It is September the 14th and 15th. And I'm going to play you just real quick. They made a video here about this. And of course, if you come on here, you see let me kind of blow the screen up for you guys. They're right there on their main part of their website. You can come here. It has upcoming events. To register for the Benoon September conference, just go to our contact page and send us an email with your full name and number of your party attending the conference. If you'll be attending only for a Friday or a Sabbath meeting and not the whole weekend, please specify which day you will be attending. Now, some people are asking me, I'm getting emails about this conference, and people are interested really about the things myself and my wife have been sharing in the Orlando conference. On Friday, the Shabbat Eve, we will actually be doing a biblical teaching. I will be talking about the Yom Kippur, because we'll be very close to Yom Kippur, and I'll be doing a special teaching on that. That's what I'll be speaking about on that on Shabbat itself. On Saturday, I will go, my wife as well, in multiple topics there, discussing those things that we are saying only privately at this time to private audiences there. There'll be several meetings that'll be there, and I'm going to play the video for you so you can hear this for yourself. They did such a marvelous job, Brother Mark and Sister Susan there on this, and I'd like for you to hear how they put this together. Let's listen to this.
Watchmen who are not afraid to speak the truth. Friday, September the 14th through Sabbath, September the 15th, Hunters Point Celebration Center in Lebanon, Tennessee will be hosting Stephen and Yana Ben-Nun of Israeli News Live and the Ben-Nun Institute of Biblical Research. Some of the topics Stephen and Yana will be sharing on include Israel's Day of Mourning, the secret world of intelligence, Israel has been hijacked, and believers sold out to Rome's New World Order. The conference begins Friday evening at 7 p.m. and continues on Sabbath at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m. The conference is free, but we will receive love offerings. Seating is limited, so reservations are required. Make your reservation at www.hpccenter.com or call 615-547-9420. Due to the leading of Holy Spirit, topics and meeting times may be subject to change. Mark and I hope to see you there. Shalom.
That was really nice, the way that Brother Mark and Sister Susan put this together. We really appreciated that. And we thank them for hosting this and as well for taking care of the registration. Registration was very, very time consuming, and we realize that. We really appreciate that. And especially the efforts that will be involved in putting this together on their end there. It's just really an invaluable help to us as well to see that this happens. Anyway, if you go to the HPC Center there, the address, of course, right here on the page itself, you'll be able to see it as well, is 2232 Hunters Point Pike, Lebanon, Tennessee. So that's the address. You can see it right there on the posting that they have, again, September 14th and 15th in Lebanon, Tennessee, which is just right outside of Nashville. So we trust you guys will be able to make it there. We're looking forward to seeing you there, and I'll be a bit more prepared myself. I've been praying about how to better present those things, and also not holding back as much as I did in Orlando. So I know some people that live near there have asked me about, that attended Orlando, would there be anything different there? Well, let me say this. I think the clarity in bringing out what I would like to say will be much better. In fact, in D.C., I had a family that I met with there, a very precious family in Washington, D.C. last night. And I felt like in my heart that I was able to present that case from my time in the intelligence community much better. But even then, not quite where I'm looking at trying to bring this out to get people to really understand what's going on in the world and the corruption. That's the objective, so that you can see the corruption that is happening in the government that goes all the way up to the White House. And I'm not saying that the current president is like that. I'm just wanting you to see presidents in the past that I have seen that were involved in the very cases that I was involved in within the intelligence community, and the corruption that was going on, the cover-ups, the money laundering, the drug smuggling, the weapons going to other countries to overthrow countries. It is just unbelievable, it would seem. But many of those things that they call conspiracy theories are indeed not conspiracy theories. They are real. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Thank you for those of you that joined us on Periscope as well. I don't know if this was working on Periscope, so I see the camera on, so I thought maybe it might be running there. But anyway, blessings to you all. And I assume that on our YouTube channel, you guys shows that we're live on there, but I don't see anybody live on the other end there. That's odd, isn't it? We are showing that we're live, but yet offline. Looky there. That's That was weird. Aha, there we go. I see where the problem is.